We find here in the book of Genesis 37, 1 through, it goes all the way to 36. And we discover some things here in this situation, how in the natural we find that Jacob was the father of these young men, and how he basically had told his brothers, when Jacob was a younger person, him and his brother Esau, he should have known better to know that he knew the feel of when a father had favor on another son. His father Isaac had favored Esau for whatever the reason may be, but he had the sting of knowing that trying to impress his father, trying to do whatever he had to do to please his father, but it was to no avail. Isaac would have never saw Jacob that way. But we find that Jacob, on the other hand, was not only was really a good person, but he was really a conniving kind of guy. He was the kind of guy that you would look at and you really shouldn't hang out with, because what he actually did was he did some really bad things. That he took Esau's birthright by giving him, and Esau at that time sold his birthrights for a bowl of stew. And the fact is that God was seeing all this unfold, even though Esau was the firstborn, that he was to be the one that was going to get the blessing of the father. But God was preparing something in this situation, for even though God does not like sin, but he allowed these things to take place. See, God's purpose and his plan for the lives of everyone, it's gonna sometime result into some things that are not going to be in our favor. It's not going to always go the way we planned it to go. He's going to allow the enemy to sometime overtake us, and we're going to look and we're going to see that situations aren't always favorable to us. So Jacob was one of those men, that young man at the time, that he basically was stealing the rights of his brother. You know, and he took his birthrights by giving him a bowl, and he said, you know, God saw that of Esau, that Esau was not going to be the one that he could build his people from. See, God was looking for a man, a family line that he can start this process of what he's going to need. See, what happened was, as time went on, Jacob stole, by giving up his birthright to his brother Jacob. So now Jacob became the front runner. But Isaac, the father, still was going to give the blessings to the older son. And because of that, all of a sudden, the mother of Jacob and Jacob came together, and they plotted a plan to steal the blessing that was supposed to be given to Esau. And through it all, he connived his way, and they got the blessing on him. But see, God allowed that again to take place, because he realizes that even though Jacob was not really the kind of example of a man of God that would make in the natural what you would want to follow, but God knew what he was doing. So he was bringing the bloodline through now. Instead of bringing it through Esau, he was bringing it through Jacob. So what was taking place was that all of a sudden, all these things that were happening that was supposed to be the blessings to Esau, it was reversed over to Jacob. Even though Jacob did it in a conniving way, they say that even though we ask God to forgive us, we still got to pay the price of the sins that we've done. See, we're never going to, you know, we're going to always have to pay. God will forgive the sin, but we still have to pay that price of what we did to have committed that sin. So what ended up happening was Jacob left home in fear of Esau, when Esau was angry at what took place. So he goes off, and now he goes to this caravan of people, and then he finds himself falling in love with this woman called Rachel. And Rachel was the younger of the two daughters of the father at the time. Laban was the father, and he said, well, if I would work for you, to take the hand of Rachel, he would give you, so Laban went on and said, okay, well, what we're going to do is you're going to work 7 years in my fields. So he worked 7 years. And after the 7th year went by, the day of knowing that he was about to get the hand of the woman that he fell in love with, Rachel, that he discovers that he finds the night of the night that he's supposed to be with her, he finds Leah, which was the older daughter of Laban. And he comes to find out, he goes, wait, what, this is not the deal that we had. Wait, but he reminded him, he said, no. See, you got to understand, see, he thought he was a craftier guy, but God puts you in positions where now he's coming into a more, conniving person. Because he realizes that, Laban realized that as Jacob was in the house of Laban, all his house was being blessed because of the hand of God and the blessing that was following Jacob. That all of a sudden he realized, you know what, this man is a true blessing in my life. I can't let him get away with this. Let me go ahead and just switch it on him. So he gave the older daughter. Now here's the thing about this. Leah was a young woman that wasn't with no one, and to imagine you going to the place and this man you're supposed to be marrying turns around, does not even want you, doesn't even like you, and doesn't even consider you to be somebody that he want to be with. And you imagine what she felt at that moment, being hurt, being pushed down. And here's the thing about this is that she felt like, okay, well, I'm gonna get him to love me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce children for him. She produced, her first son was Reuben. Then she produced another one, Simeon. And then she produced a third one, Levi. And the fourth one, she produced Judah. And the thing about it was that even with all 4 of those boys, that she was not pleasing still to Jacob. Then the 7th year came and he finally gets Rachel. Now he has Rachel, now he has his other Leah. And what's happening is that Rachel can't produce no children. She's barren. She can't have children. So all of a sudden, here it goes. Rachel is being taunted by Leah because Leah realizes that, oh, I can produce children, but you can't. And see, women in those days were made only for that purpose. The more produce that you can produce for the offspring, the better you are. So Leah was making life miserable for Rachel, her sister. So what Rachel came up with was, well, I'm going to have my slave, Bilhah, go ahead and lay down with her husband. And that she will produce a child, and it will be a representation of Rachel, an extension of Rachel. It's like a surrogate mother. See, the thing about this was that she ended up having 2 children. Dan was one, and then the next one was Naphtali was the second one. But to understand this, that it doesn't matter. Even if you are the surrogate mother, that child will still always have a connection with the real mother. And as long as the mother is still around, Rachel did not feel the comfortness of this being her real child. So again, all of a sudden with Leah having children, and then now her slave having children, and she's still not being able, and then Leah also had her servant have children with. So all of a sudden now, Leah had produced a matter of 6 children, 6 boys, in comparison to Rachel not even having 1. So we find that all of a sudden in the later years, Leah again produced 2 more children. So in total, she produced 6, along with her slave having 2. She had contributed 8 boys to this Jacob, not knowing what was taking place, that God was orchestrating what was happening, because all of a sudden God allowed Rachel's womb to open, and he produced 2 children, and one was Joseph, and the last one was Benjamin. Here's the thing about this story, that God's promise to Jacob in Genesis 28 and 14, God's promise to Jacob, your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. And the thing about it was, he was referring, when he saw in a dream a stairwell coming down, and at the top of the stairwell, the Lord speaking to him and telling him those promises. See, we think sometimes that God gives us visions and dreams, that those dreams are not going to come true. Think about this. All this chaos that was going on, all these different women that were contributing to this, that God was still orchestrating. What man made for evil, God is going to make it for his good. Amen. See, we find that it was 12 children. And see, this was the tribe of Israel. This became what we see today, Israel. The children of Israel was born through all this chaos that was going on in the house of Jacob. Even though Jacob wasn't a fair father and he didn't treat his children the right way, because he showed favoritism to Joseph because of Rachel being the love of his life, that he felt like, you know, this is my real son that I should have had. But the Bible speaks of that he said what is first will be last, and what last will be first. See, God was orchestrating it, because the way I could see it, God showing Rachel not to produce early. So that way that Rachel's children would be the ones that were going to lead God's people. See, it's always seeming like God is never going to use the strong, but he wants to use the weak to combine those that are out thinking that, well, you know, he's the older brother, and yes, he's supposed to be stronger. Yes, he looks like he could be a good leader. But the reality of it was that God knew the heart of a man. That's right. See, these other ones, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, and all of these guys were jealous and envious, and they had hate in their heart. See, God was searching the world to find a man with a heart that's pure enough to recognize that, you know what, God is first. Here's the thing about our children. The Bible says, you train up a child in the way that he should go. So when he departs from you, when he's out in the world, you know that you've given him something. See, the thing is that Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Gad, Asher, Ishmael, Zebulun, all of these did not want to do what was pleasing to God. They was wanting to please themselves. So we find that God was knowing what he was doing, but here's the beauty of all of this, that through the bloodline of these young men, God produced Moses, Aaron, he produced King David, he produced Solomon, he also produced Jesus Christ through their bloodline. And then to understand this, that even King Saul came from Benjamin's bloodline. So God was using them, even though at the time they don't see it. See, the fact is that we as God's people got to understand, this is Israel that we see today, that is going to be a nation. Because God's promises don't come back void. It accomplishes its intended purpose. When God showed Jacob that dream of the stairwell from up on heaven to the earth, and up on top he stood there and he commenced to tell him, your descendants will be as the dust that's on the ground. You will continue to do that. See, to imagine, he had all these children through different women, but yet God knew what he was doing, because it was still from the same father. See, the bloodline was still connected to who God wanted to bless, and it was a blessing from Jacob. So even though they were half brothers, they were still brothers in God's eyes to be a blessing. See, we find even though the brothers hated him, but didn't understand that God was using them to turn against them. As we're going to find later on, how God is going to use to harden the hearts of people and soften them to give favor towards Joseph. See, the fact is that Joseph was a man that was a young boy at the age of 17, was wiser than you could imagine, because he was able to comprehend that God was speaking through him through these about what God was about to do in his life, even though it was going to be years and years down the road. The same goes, the promises that God gave Jacob through that dream, it's going to happen, and it has happened. It is foretold that Israel is going to be blessed because of Jacob. See, we looking at this story of this wonderful, it's a captivating story, because it's the conclusion of the Genesis book through Joseph, and then Exodus will open up through one of their own, which was going to be Moses. Amen. See, we find how God is orchestrating it in the natural. If we didn't have the Bible to see the story, to see the conclusion of the story, we would think how can God do something in this? This is a mess. See, this it's too muddy. It's something like this can't be repaired. But see, we thank God that man don't lead us, but God leads us. And that God has a plan for your life, my life, and we're descendants of our own, here's the thing about it. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes were brought from these dysfunctional children that hated, that envied one another, that despised one another because of the favoritism that God has given to one of them. But God was opening up the door because God knew he needed somebody to lead the people.
Yes.
See, and we don't realize it, that we downgrade our young people, that they're not smart enough, or they're not big enough, or they're not strong enough to lead. But God has a plan in our life that you are valuable to him, that right now you don't see it, but God has a plan that he's going to use you for greater things than you could have ever imagined. And he's going to show the brothers later down the road how much he loves them, even though he allowed them to do the injustice to their brother. Yeah. But the Bible says, what man make for evil, God turns for good. And Joseph is going to be able to confess to his brothers the same. Yeah. Because God is with Joseph and has been with Joseph from the time he was born to the end time of his departure from this earth. So what I'm saying is to you is this: Joseph, part one, dreams that God has a plan for your life. You might think some of our children are on drugs, and some of our children are going to the left side. Remember, look at the children of Jacob right here. They hated their brother. They actually did some ugly things, but yet God still used them to be a part of a tribe that was going to lead the universe, the world, and he was going to come through this bloodline. Yeah. Only God himself knew what he was doing. Amen. God had to choose. He had to choose to go to any family to come out of, but he chose a dysfunctional family in Jacob to come out of. Yes. To come out of this family, a line that was full of hate, malice, guilt, everything under the sun, from Jacob himself being a conniver, stealing the birthright of his brother, manipulating his father, being that he was blind, and used the goat's hair to make him think that was Esau. Yeah. Only God could have done this. That he's going to use the lesser of what the world has to offer to show you that he can make it. And he can do whatever he chooses because he's God, and he's God all by himself. Amen. And he chose to come this way because he didn't want to come the easy way, but he wanted to come the hard way. Amen. See, that's why don't despise those times when you're struggling and you're going through hard times, because through those hard times, through those struggles, through those valleys that you're in, you're going to discover you look back on your life, those are the best of your times of your life, because you and God became so close, because you didn't have nobody, and nobody was there for you but God. See, your friends were so-called saying they were your friends, but they could not be there for you because God knew that you were going to need him and him alone. So right now we're gonna conclude on this, because we find that the Ishmaelites finally, after all the trifling things, they sold their brother to the Ishmaelites, and then they with a band of taking the spices to Egypt, and they sold him as if he was a slave and he was a free man. See, but God knew what he was doing. See, God is taking him from being a free man to being now a servant. See, God was breaking Joseph down. He was doing some things to Joseph and making, you know, through it all, he was building character in this young man.
Amen. Right.
So we got to understand that sometimes we're on a job and the bosses are coming down on us, or employees are coming on us, but God is toughening your skin. He's making you realize that if it had not been for the Lord that was on your side,
yes,
you would have been swallowed up. But God has a plan for your life, my life, and he's showing us